All right, let's get started, everybody. Good afternoon on this beautiful drive home. This is like your drive home entertainment. Maybe you're watching this live. Maybe you're watching this after the fact on YouTube, especially if you're on YouTube. Welcome. My name is David Trigg, your live coach, free coaching. I also love music, as you know. But if you are watching me anywhere, but on Facebook, come over to Facebook. That's where all the good stuff is happening. If you want to leave me a comment, please go ahead. You can leave a comment right there. Anywhere, whether you're on Facebook or if you have a question, anywhere on Twitch or Periscope or YouTube, it'll show up in this chat box. And you come over down here where it says davidtrigg.com/free coaching if you would like to set up your free 20-minute coaching session. But talking about this idea I've been wrestling with now for a while, the idea of, can you love something that you're not good at? And you can also maybe expand this to, can you love someone that you shouldn't love, as in a person? Or maybe you can expand it to, can you, I guess maybe those are the two things. I thought I had a third one, but maybe it'll hit me, it'll come to me. Now, the reason why I think about this a lot is because in my life, I have a desire and have always had a desire to lead and to coach, to also to study the Bible. As a pastor, of course, you know, I've been a pastor for 20 years or so, since I was a young man, and I'll be 50 next month. So I was 23 when I started working in the church, so almost 25 years, I guess, or more than 25 years. So, and I would say for half of that time I did music, then I did administration, then I've done pastoring, as in lead pastoring, etc., for the last 10 years or so. But I often find myself that I'm not very good as a leader, as a speaker, that I'm just an average person in those areas. And my success has come mostly in music. And so I often think about, if I love preaching and leading so much, why am I not that good at it based on the results? And so I keep asking God, and I've asked him this for many years, and I wonder maybe if you ask him similar questions. Why did you give me a love for something I'm not good at? Now, of course, then you get into, well, are you looking at the results too much? Is it a matter of perseverance, of patience, of waiting? I think, yeah, all that is true. In every area of your life, you have to persevere and you have to be strong. But we all want to have success. If you want to work out and lose weight, work out, you want to lose weight. You want to be able to fit into those jeans or that shirt. And so, especially after years of trying something, and if it's not working, then you wonder, well, is it me? And I think that's what happens to me a lot. Then I ask the second question is, first, is it me? And then second, then why did you give me this love for something that I'm not very good at? And then you begin to wonder, well, maybe I don't love this. Maybe I love it for the wrong reasons. Is it because of ego, or because of some challenge or a competition, or to be like somebody else, or to whatever it may be? So those are the questions that often enter my mind. And I wonder if these are things that enter your mind as well when it comes to what you love. Maybe if you're older, do you feel like you did what you loved? And were you good at it? Or maybe, perhaps what happens to most people is they did something they didn't love. They were in a relationship that they didn't like, or they were in a job or in a career that they didn't love. And they did it because it paid the bills, it provided, etc. Then you begin to ask, well, how do you measure success? How do you measure what you're good at? Is it numbers? Is it pay? Is it joy? Is it people's lives you impact? I am impacting people all the time. But as far as what I consider success, I've always known that for me, it's numbers. It's something that grows, something that becomes healthier, bigger. And I don't think that's wrong. I think that is how I'm made. And any other measuring stick isn't really enough for me. And I've also learned, of course, to kind of to balance that with impact and touching people's lives. The idea of not necessarily speaking to a million people, but changing one person's lives a million times. And I can pretty much buy into that. I think most of the time, or at least half the time. And yet, just recently, I was driving by the area here where we live, here in Long Beach, and they're building all these new developments, not homes, but office buildings, 2-story. I think they're 2-story, maybe three. And I love the idea of a new facility. So when I think of church, I always think of a new building, something that is fresh and new and modern and equipped for young people, for all of us, but with that kind of modern look that we all love. But then when I begin to think about that challenge, I think, well, just because I love it, is that something that I am really good at doing? Can I fill that building with people through my preaching, my gifts of leadership, or my lack of gifts in those areas? And then you get into, well, am I gifted? Am I not? Am I called? Yes, I am, but all these things. So I think that in life, we all want to be around winning things. You want to be a winning person. And if you're not winning at something, then you begin to wonder, well, do I need to change my diet, or I need to make more money, or I need to date somebody else? So we all want to be happy. I think that is a gift from God, to be happy, to feel like we're making an impact in people's lives. And then, as I said, you get into all of the kind of the nuance of life in terms of career and all the rest, all these things that I'm talking about. We all face these issues of, well, is this something I should be doing? I mean, my guess is most people, 90%, they do something that it's not their passion, but it's something that pays the bills. Not always. I was just talking to a friend. He said, no, I actually loved what I did for 30 years or 40 years. And so that was refreshing to hear. I would say the same thing. I love leading and preaching and leading a church, not just doing music in the church. I love that as well. But am I successful at it? I don't know. I'm not currently successful. Will I be? I don't know. Maybe. But the other day I was talking to a friend, and he was saying, well, how long have you been doing this for? And I said, well, just the last few years. And he kind of looked and thought, maybe you shouldn't be doing this. And I sometimes feel that way half the time. The other half of the time I feel like this is what God has for me. And I wonder if that's how we all feel. Is this just a general feeling of life? Now, when I was doing music, I was dissatisfied. Not because I wasn't successful at it. In fact, I was super successful at it, like extremely successful at it in terms of numbers and impact and people's comments and all those things. But I wasn't happy. I wanted to be the CEO, the president, the person in charge. Not about ego. I mean, sure, maybe, obviously some. None of us are without ego, and certainly I'm not. But I would say the driving force was to use all that was in me, all that is in me, in the areas of leading and preaching and vision and all these things. I know what I'm not gifted in. I'm not a gifted administrator. I'm not a gifted details person or that kind of thing. I'm an idea person, a go-getter, a driven type, a creative. But I sometimes hear, obviously, other speakers, and I think, wow, they're really gifted, and they fill a room. Those are the people that I want to listen to. I don't consider myself a gifted speaker. I think that I'm average at best. And in terms of leadership, I think I'm also average at best. I don't think I'm a gifted leader, but I work hard at it, and I definitely use my other gifts, as I said, of creativity and ideas and of being just willing to do whatever it takes, of maybe perseverance or just consistency. But going back to the question, can you love something you're not really good at? What do you think? Do you love something that you're not good at? Is it about that? Shouldn't it be about that? It should be about what we love, right? And doing what we love. Especially as we age. As I said, in my 50s almost here. I'm entering my 50s. I definitely need to be doing what I'm good at. And And as we all know, when what you're good at and what you get paid to do and what you are successful at, when all those three things come together, that's magic. Things grow, everybody wins. But when there's a gap in any of those things, then everyone suffers. So I ask myself those questions a lot. I wonder. Now, the same thing goes even with this program. As you know, I was streaming every day for 5 years before this latest, I guess, second attempt. And I just wasn't very effective at it. People to this day don't flock to hear me talk or to hear me do anything really for that matter. So, and yet I do it because I really love it. I love to talk. I love to be online. I love the tools. But this is another example of something that I love, but yet I'm not very good at it, just from the numbers. And so the zero views, the zero people, blah, blah, blah. And yeah, you have all these excuses of what you call what do you call those things? The algorithms. But, I'm just not going to think about that. I want to be successful just based on who I am and what I do, obviously, and let the pieces fall where they may. And yet, they don't seem to fall always in what I would consider success, as far as I said, numbers and such. Now, another person could say, well, have you put in the effort? Oh, my goodness, yes. So that is one good news. Back to, again, my gifts. I would say my gift, one of them is to work hard and to persevere and to give my all to something that I can honestly say and thankfully say that I have given my all to everything that I do, from music to speaking to leading to whatever it may be, to these streams. But I think the biggest lesson for me has been to not give up in spite of the lack of success in terms of numbers and views and people, or as they call it, pews and plates, or budgets and butts, or all those things, nickels and numbers, I guess, whatever. So I persevere, and I'm here even though nobody watches me, nobody's on Twitch or blah, 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 or YouTube. I keep going. I think all of us face this, and it is sometimes hard emotionally for me. Not as hard right now, believe it or not, than a year ago. That's why I quit Facebook and everything, because it was just too hard on, I don't know if it was my ego, but it was just too hard on my mind, really. It's like, logically, it made no sense. You put in all this effort for very little or really zero success, then you need to move on. It's like the thing of Einstein saying foolishness is to keep doing the same thing, expecting a different result. But guess what? I'm a fool then, if that's the definition of a fool, because whether it's streams or leading churches, I feel like, or I don't know, a couple other things in my life, online courses and blah, blah, blah. Except for music, I think everything else has been just loving things that I'm not very good at based on this metric. Now, is there a different metric that we can measure ourselves against? Is there a metric where you are successful? I would say for me, sure, it's touching people's lives, maybe one-on-one, singing, of course. I had someone just recently say that when I sang this one line, it changed her life. I hardly hear that by my leading or my preaching, if ever, but I definitely hear it through my music. And so the obvious thing for me always is, why don't I just do music then? But then I go back to, I wasn't loving it anymore. I was done with music in the church. I've been done for 10 years, maybe more, maybe 15 years. And that would be an example, if I was to do music, of doing something just because I'm good at it. It's kind of the reverse. Not because I love it to the degree that I used to. So that's the opposite. Can you do something that you're good at and not love? That's another maybe twist on the same question. And so there's this dilemma that I often feel, and maybe there's a third way that says this is just the way of life. You're never going to be at your perfect union of these two circles. You're never going to be at 100% success and at 100% doing what you love. it's always going to be a fight, just a big drag out fight on the dirt. And one kid is beating you up one day, and the other moment you're beating him up. That's just how it is. It's a wrestling. It's Jacob and the angel. And yet, of course, I think, well, I hear myself and I make no sense, or I'm not a very good leader, or I don't, there are a lot of things. I just heard even just recently how this one person did this one thing in this church, and in 2 years or whatever, just grew to 300. I'm like, yeah, that's not been my story. And so all those doubts and thoughts get in the way. And yet, to go back to quote, what I'm good at is not what I love. I did it even just recently for a few months just to try it, and the same thing happened. People were blessed, success, blah, 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 in music, of course. And I just didn't want to keep doing it. And so, am I that disobedient? Am I just that foolish? Are we that just like out of touch with reality? Maybe. Or is there something else? Is there a different way of looking at life? Is there a story? I don't want to get fired. I don't want to lose my job. I don't want to learn the hard way. So how do we learn in life? I think, usually it's the hard way, right? It's when you do get fired from a job. It's when a relationship ends. It's when you realize you have high blood pressure. It's like, oh, okay, I guess I like donuts, but I shouldn't eat them. And so I feel that way in school, I think. I love school so much, and yet here I am at 50 still working on my master's, only a few classes away. I've been in that same boat for 20 years, I feel like. And I now with that, I realize that I just don't like the system, and not to go on an education rant, but the system of online courses is really detrimental to a talker and a kind of a collaborative person like me. It's just the worst of me to do things online just to get credit, and therefore you get a degree. I'm not motivated by that. I'm motivated by conversation and learning and talking and interaction and learning, and then being tested and blah, 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 all that stuff. So same thing goes with that. I know I'm a great student. I know I'm good, but this system is not working for me, and hasn't been working for me for, I would say, 15, 20 years, this whole online stuff. It reminds me of how creative kids maybe struggle in school, or maybe lazy kids, even though they have such amazing minds, but they're like, I hate this. This system doesn't work. This is not my learning style. I'm more of a visual learner, and this is just all memorization or whatever. It goes to that. Maybe the fit is not right. Maybe going back to kind of what I'm good at. Maybe I do love this and I am good at it, but maybe the fit or the situation or this season of life or this time in this place's life isn't the perfect fit. Because from all these books that I have here, I have hundreds of books that I read every year. I've learned that leadership is not just about skill and success, also about fit and timing, and the right situation for the right person at the right time is very important. Something that my wife Rochelle and I talk about a lot in terms of her career is what is her fit, her perfect or ideal situation to succeed based on who she is. It's not a matter of, well, you love something that you're not good at. It's more of you love something, you are good at it, but maybe the third element is this the right fit? And so that could be another factor in this that does tend to give us hope, because you can change your fit, or you can wait for the fit to come around, whereas you can't change what you love. I guess you could. And you can't change what you're good at. I guess you could just say, I'm not good at this, and conclude. But that's a tougher, I think, sell for most of us, to come to a place where we think, well, I guess I was lying to myself for all those years. I do stink at being online, and I just thought eventually it would happen. But what do you do? I mean, I have guys, friends, online friends that are now in their 60s and 70s, and they have the same thing as me, 0 viewers, 1, 2, maybe it's their grandkids that watch them. But then in that, they develop relationships with guys just like them that have no views. And so they get together, and then they get this channel going on mostly live streaming and podcasting. And a guy like me, who's a little younger, enjoys it because these guys are just average Joe. So maybe that's part of the journey for some of us, is to not have external success, but to perhaps find peace in your heart in spite of that, and to realize that maybe happiness is not what you thought. It's not what you wanted. Maybe I'm already happy in that I have these means, meaning this medium to talk to you, this microphone. But then you think, well, nobody's watching. Like, what's the point of just talking to a computer? Maybe it's just to talk, to get it out. Maybe it's just therapy for most of us. Maybe it's just a way to talk things through and to stay afloat and to kind of keep going. Maybe it's a hobby. Maybe it's just something you enjoy, but it's not successful, meaning it's not what pays the bills. So all of these factors are very, I think, common to most of us. One of the books that comes to mind always on this topic is, I think, is by David Brennan. And the name of the book is Let Your Life Speak. Let Your Life Speak. I've read it a million times. I still can't tell you what it all says because I'm not a details person. But I know the basic premise is that for all of us, life speaks to us. It tells us what you're good at. And I would say for me, life always tells me that I'm great at music, always. But then it goes back to, I don't love it. That's not all that I love. It's like having 3 kids. Like, well, I can't just love one. I love all of them. Well, but this one is not very healthy. Maybe you shouldn't, I don't know, breaks down there. But it's hard to let go of leading and vision and teaching and all this when it's something that I really love doing. And then you have to ask yourself, well, do I really love it? Yes. That's why I keep doing it. I really do love it. But it's one of those things that, like with streaming and the lack of views and all that stuff that I've said a million times, I'm like those old guys maybe that just simply is going to keep doing this until I'm 70 just because I can, and because maybe there's a few people that will connect with me at this level and not at a successful level. Most of these guys are not successful in the ways that we would expect, but they love it. And so maybe the answer is yes, if you change the metric of success. And maybe that's what I'm going through. Maybe you can love something you're not good at if that conclusion comes from your numbers. Maybe you got to change the numbers, the metric. Maybe I am doing something I love, and I am good at it if good at it means that I persevere, that I feel happy. And I think that is what's happened. Even though I have very little success, as in the things that I want, I'm finding more and more that I have happiness in just doing this, in just showing up and loving people at church, even if my sermons aren't great or if my leadership or administrative skills suck. I still feel such joy in doing it. And I hope to get better at it, of course. But, I'm an older guy, so it's not like I can suddenly learn a whole new way of doing life. But what are the things that are successful about me now? Well, I genuinely love people. I genuinely love church. I genuinely love the Bible teaching, and I genuinely love to equip and build into people. I genuinely love creating a new future. I genuinely love, as I said, loving people. I genuinely love discipling or building somebody up. I genuinely love connecting with younger people, young adults. So there's a list of things that I would say, let's say those 10 things, I would say maybe 5 or 6 or even 8 of them I'm effective at. I'm good at it. These 2 other things, maybe not. And maybe that's a good enough ratio, right? 80%. I mean, I'll take it, right? Those are really good odds. So I feel like this whole talk is not easy for me. Maybe it's just not easy, period. But I think you do have to think through some of these things and then ask, what is my next step? And I think for me, what God keeps telling me is to persevere. I have here in my computer, you can't see it, but I have a sign besides a bunch of others, mostly pray and whatnot to say online, alms and all that. I have a sign that says never give up. And maybe that is my number one and greatest gift, is I just don't give up. Should I give up? No. Do I want to give up? No. Should I just move on? No. I love what I do. I love my marriage, of course, my goodness. I love my life. I think I'm just learning two things: to wait on God, maybe 3. Second, to persevere in spite of very little success. And then third is to perhaps adapt my metric of success to having it be more love, more self development, more genuine care for people, and let God take care of the rest. Maybe that is the winning formula for you and me. Leave me a comment below. If you want my free coaching, just go down to this website, and I will see you next time. Thanks so much for watching.